Welcome to the Envision IT video player for SharePoint. Just a quick agenda first. We're going to start with an introduction of what the video player product is, give you some background on some of the challenges and opportunities in terms of doing online video, go through some of the features of the product, and then take you in a live demonstration. So just from a quick introduction point of view, one of the challenges with online video is that there are no standards in video formats and players. There's lots of different options. Depending on the platform that your target audience is going to be using, you need to support all these different standards. The idea behind the video player product is to allow you to stream the videos right from your SharePoint pages from a variety of sources and use the appropriate player for the platform that the end consumer is going to be using. So let's talk first about where you would host your videos. So obviously we're talking about SharePoint. You can actually host your videos right inside SharePoint itself. It's not always the best choice, but it's certainly an easy option for authors. They can just upload their videos into an asset library and stream them out from there. It does provide only progressive downloads, and you are hitting your SharePoint environment, bandwidth, the SQL database, things like that, that maybe isn't an ideal place to be streaming your videos out from. A lot of people use YouTube as their video sharing platform. Obviously this gives you much broader public exposure, and that can actually be a good thing if you want to have people to be able to organically find your videos through YouTube itself. That's a great option. It's free, so that's obviously attractive as well, but there is a lack of control there. You can't necessarily control the user experience as much as you want, and also there's the challenge that many organizations actually block YouTube access, so you're potentially limiting your audience in terms of who can actually see those videos. One of the other options is using Microsoft's Windows Server has an add-on called IIS Media Services. This is ideal if you're doing internal streaming, say for corporate training or communications, things like that, where you don't want to consume your internet bandwidth with all of your staff pulling your videos down. They can actually be streamed from within your internal network. It does provide a richer experience as well in terms of smooth streaming and better streaming options out from there. Now, if you're going to be exposing your videos publicly, though, Windows Azure is a great option to consider. It also has a media services option. It provides the public streaming. You're not consuming your own bandwidth. It's running through the content delivery network of Windows Azure, and it also supports smooth streaming and richer streaming options in it as well. So that's the side in terms of where your videos are hosted, and then we want to think about, well, how are the videos going to be played? And traditionally, a lot of people think about Flash as the vehicle for playing videos. It's been used for many years. It does require a plugin. You have to have the Flash plugins installed on your system, which means that it only works on a PC or Mac platform. If you're on mobile devices or iPads, tablets, things like that, that option is not going to work for you. HTML5 is certainly the newer standard that's kind of taking the world by storm in terms of video standards, and it's definitely supported by the more recent browsers and mobile platforms, but there are still differing video standards. Depending on which platform you're running on, the video streamed out through HTML5 needs to be of a different format. And then lastly, we have Microsoft Silverlight. Silverlight, like Flash, does require a plugin, so it means it does only work on a PC and Mac platform, but it really does provide the best video experience on those platforms. It supports the full smooth streaming that we'll talk about a little bit later as well. So let's think about just in a PC and Mac environment, so a traditional desktop PC or notebook kind of environment. How's the best way to stream your videos out? And as I mentioned, Silverlight provides the best experience in that environment. It provides a smooth streaming that'll allow the bandwidth use and the CPU use on the local machine to scale up and down and give you the optimum experience based on the client machine that you're running on and the connection that you have. You may not have Silverlight installed though, so we want to also be able to support HTML5 and render videos out through that. Now, HTML5 being a newer standard is only supported on the newer browsers, so you may have audiences out there that don't have the latest browsers on their PCs, and you may need to actually downgrade back down to Flash, and hopefully they have the Flash player installed and are able to view the videos on there. So all three options work in a PC and Mac type of environment, and really you want to tailor it to the individual needs of the individual user. Now, within the PC Mac environment, if you're coming from Internet Explorer or Safari and you're using HTML5 video, what you're going to want to do is stream that video out as an MP4 format. And this is the type of encoding of the video that you're going to be sending out. Now, if you're coming from Google Chrome, even though Google says they don't actually want to support MP4, they still do. That may change over time, but we haven't seen that yet. So Chrome will play those MP4 videos as well, but really Google would prefer you to stream those videos out as a WebM format, which is a more open format that Google is behind. Now, if you're coming from Firefox, unfortunately that doesn't support either MP4 or WebM. It needs the videos to be in a Theora format. So you can see, depending on the browser that the client machine's running on, you need to have different format videos in there. Now, the nice thing with HTML5 is it allows you to have all of these formats present in the one tag, and the browser will actually figure out which is the appropriate video that you need to play. The downside is that you need to encode your video in all these different formats in order to support the broadest possible audience. Now, obviously, all of these platforms also support Silverlight, so if you do have the Silverlight installed on your client machine, that's actually the preferred method to go and leverage the smooth streaming side of things. Coming from mobile devices, really the only story there is HTML5. And MP4 seems to be the standard across these devices in general, but again, you want to support the different formats for the different devices. So I've mentioned several times now smooth streaming, and I want to take a minute now to explain what that is and why it's important. And the idea is that different client machines are going to have different connections to the internet, and they're going to have different local machine CPU conditions. So you may have a very fast computer or a very slow computer, you may have a fast internet connection or a slow internet connection, and you really want to scale the video delivery to the capabilities of the local client machine. The last thing people want to see is jerky video that stops and pauses every couple of seconds as it downloads a little bit more of the video stream. It makes for a very choppy experience and not ideal experience from a video consumer's point of view. So what smooth streaming does is it's constantly checking to see what's your bandwidth on your internet connection and how is your CPU performing and what capabilities are you able to support. And as you have a faster internet connection and a faster CPU, it will actually increase the video quality. Puts more of a load on your system, but you get a better quality, potentially even all the way up to full HD video. As you get a lesser connection on there or a more heavily loaded CPU, it'll downgrade the quality of the video. It'll still play continuously, it'll still sound nice, you'll just notice a little bit more graininess and a little less clarity on the video images themselves. But the important thing there is that the video experience continues to run smoothly for the user at the best possible level for their local machine that they're on. That's really what smooth streaming is all about. So what I'd like to do now is to actually take you to the Experience Smooth Streaming page on the Microsoft site and show you what that looks like. But really the best way for you to experience it is to go to the URL that you see there, www.ias.net/media/experience smooth streaming, and actually try it out for yourself on your local machine. Here you can see I'm now on the Experience IAS Smooth Streaming page on the Microsoft site. We can see the Silverlight player embedded on the page here. What I'm going to do first is just put the player into full screen mode. Now this is not your typical player that you would use, and really it's intended to demonstrate the functionality of smooth streaming. So we can see our frame rate, our download rate, and what I'm going to do is go ahead and start the video playing here. And what we're going to see is as the video is starting, we can see it's first downloading at a fairly low rate, a 350K bit rate. And it just jumped up to 845 and up to 2 meg. So it's taking advantage of the CPU that I have and the faster internet connection that I have, and the clarity of the video is sharpened up, but the frame rate has stayed steady and there's been no jerks in there. And what I can do to demonstrate how it downscales is I can actually limit the bit rate so I can simulate being on a slower internet connection. Now it's going to continue playing at the higher rate for some time because it's already pulled that content across, but we're going to see that that drops down to a lower bit rate from there, and some of the clarity that we see in the video will then downsample as well. Now again, you're not going to see this as well through the online video here, so I really encourage you to go to the site itself and try that out for yourself. So we spent a lot of time talking about video formats, streaming sources, different players. Let's talk now about the actual video player web part itself and how it works, what are some of its features. So it has the ability to stream videos right in SharePoint pages from a variety of sources. It's very easy for the content authors to implement that video streaming on their pages. They simply add the web part to their page and they upload and tag either thumbnail images or list entries to represent those videos. The web part then will render out one or more videos through a single web part on the page. The video player web part supports PC and Mac, as well as iOS, Android, BlackBerry, and Windows Phone devices. These various different devices are supported through a combination of Silverlight, HTML, and Flash as appropriate for each client. And there's two modes that the player can operate in. It can operate inline on the page, very similar to what we saw on the Experience Smooth Streaming page, where it was playing right within the page itself, or we can have a pop-up div open up on top of your page and play the video in that. Now, as I mentioned before, videos can be stored in SharePoint itself. You can use the IIS Media Streaming Services or the Azure Media Streaming Services or YouTube itself. All these sources are supported through the video player part. It also supports secure HTTPS sites as well, and smooth streaming support is provided either through Media Services on Windows Azure for both Silverlight and iOS clients. So let's look at what a content author has to do in order to implement video on their web pages. The first thing they need to do is create thumbnails that they want to represent their videos with. They upload those thumbnails up into an asset library, and they tag them with the URLs to the various different sources for the different types of videos. That would be the MP4, the WebM, the Theora, the smooth streaming files that they've placed either in SharePoint, in IIS Media Services, up in YouTube, or up in Azure. They then take a page that they want to render those videos on, and they add the video player web part to that page. They configure it to point to the asset library, and they're all set. Now, when a site visitor comes to that page, the video player web part is going to look in the asset library, determine what videos should be rendered on this particular page, and render out that page. We can see here an example of our Extranet User Manager page on our Envision IT website, and you can see the two videos on the right-hand side there. They're examples of pop-ups where they'll play on top of this page. So let's have a look at the actual page itself. We can see here we've got two videos on the right-hand side, and if I click on the EUM overview, it'll open up a pop-up on top of my window, and it'll start streaming the video down for me. As I can see here, I'm actually using the Silverlight player on this device because I'm running on the PC. So it's providing a smooth streaming experience for me on this device. So let's take a look at the different ways that the video player can render it. We've got options of providing just links or thumbnails, so we'll start with the links. Here we've just got a set of text hyperlink URLs. When I click on any one of these, it'll open up the pop-up and the video will start playing from there. As opposed to that, we can use thumbnails, in which case we'll actually see the images representing each of the videos. So as a content author, I decide which thumbnail I want to have for each video, and when I click on that thumbnail, the video begins playing. Alternatively, we can also just have the video itself inline on the page. So here I've come to a page, I've got the video inline on the page, I don't need to start anything, the video is just playing in line with that. And of course all of these options allow me to go to full screen as well with the video. So let's look under the hood at what this looks like. We'll go into the video player asset library first, and we can see each of the thumbnails representing the videos. If I click on the Extranet User Manager one and view its properties, I'll be able to see all the tags for it. So we have the title and the thumbnail that's being displayed, but I also have all the URLs for the MP4, the Theora, the WebM, and the smooth streaming that have been placed in there. As we can see with these URLs, these are actually hosted up on Microsoft Azure. I could also include the reference to the YouTube URL through this as well. Likewise, if I come back to the video player list, here rather than having thumbnails, I simply have list entries. So I can click on that same EUM overview, view that item, and again I see the same tags there. I don't need to create an image. This is actually the easier way to go if you're going to use the inline player because there actually isn't a thumbnail preview that's provided as part of that. So that concludes our overview of the video player for SharePoint product. In summary, it's all about streaming video in your SharePoint pages from a variety of sources, whether that's YouTube, SharePoint itself, Windows Server, Windows Azure, and supporting that on multiple devices, whether it's Windows or Mac traditional devices or mobile devices like iPhone, iPad, Android, BlackBerry, or Windows Phone, and really providing it in the correct format and scaling it at the appropriate quality level to provide an optimal experience for each of those devices. If you'd like more information or to download a trial version of the product, please visit our website at www.envisionit.com/VP for video player. Thanks and have a great day.